Okay. So, welcome, folks. And I'm going to run down through the app. Hopefully, it's pretty straightforward. But if you need any clarifications or any questions or maybe comments on potential enhancements, let me know. After you do this install, again, it's on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. You get, when you first start it up, you get a screen like this. It defaults to New England. Steve Pavola's RAS site also generates bitmaps for Mifflin, which comes in handy in the spring, or if you take a trip down there, but it defaults to New England. Just running down from the top of the screen down, pretty straightforward stuff. First line provides the model, the forecast model and the date. Just use the little arrows or the blue arrows on either side to go forward and backward for each day. Right now, it starts by default into what I call simple mode, where arguably it picks the best forecast to use for the day. So it starts out with HRR, which is something, don't ask me the name, I don't remember it anymore. Goes out. Next day, it'll pick the NAM forecast. Day after that, NAM, excuse me. If HRR, let me back up to today's forecast. If HRR is not present, it'll show the wrap forecast. Going 1 day out, it'll use the NAM, 2 days out, NAM, and subsequent days, it should use GFS. We'll come back to that in a minute. Then the forecast that's showing on the screen, if you click on the icon, so it's showing thermal updraft velocity and boundary shear ratio. You get a little explanation of what the forecast is in case you need that. I'm just going to click on close. So you probably not seeing my cursor. I'm clicking that little, blue square icon to the left of the thermal updraft velocity.
Yeah, your cursor is visible.
Oh, okay, great. If you want a different forecast, you click the little down arrow. You get a whole list of the forecasts. These are the same as that are on the RAS site. Thermal updraft velocity, just clicking that. Give it a little time. Sometimes it's a little slow. Okay, or maybe it just was it's very similar to the previous one. It just didn't have all the little dots, I don't know what you want to call them, to show the boundary shear ratio, or the what's the BS stand for? B/S, boundary shear, isn't it? If the thermals are
it's buoyancy to shear ratio.
Yes, thank you, David. Thank you. Brain cramp there. Okay. And then the time, you can animate the time by clicking on the loop. And so you can see how the day progresses. Right now, when it first installs, it always takes 1300 or 1 p.m. as the initial starting point, but the forecasts go from about 10, I think, to 6, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you click in, if you want to go back and forth for times, just click the little blue arrows on either side of the time, and you can manually step through it if you want to take a closer look at things. Okay. Checking my notes. Oh, pinch and zoom. Of course, you can pinch and zoom the map and also the legend. Sometimes the text on the legend gets a little small, and you can pinch and zoom that if you need to expand it to take a look at it. Going back up to the top, if you want to do a little bit of model shopping to find out the best model that, or the most optimistic model, you can change from what I call the simple mode, where it'll automatically select what it thinks is the best model to use. Just go up to the upper right-hand corner, come down and click on expert mode. And now you'll get the various models for whatever, for the particular days. Like for HRR, selecting that, it only is created for the current day, so you only won't get the 1-day forecast there. You go to wrap, also just for a current day, NAM for a couple days out, depending on when the latest forecast is generated on the RAF site, and GFS is the one that goes out the farthest, so you got about a week worth of forecast. So anyway, you can pick whatever model you like, or or if you don't feel like going to the field, pick the most pessimistic one and say, oh, it's not going to be a good day. So anyway, you have those options of picking forecast. Checking my notes here. What comes up again as default shows a number of icons or markers on the map that show the skew, where SKUTs are generated for. Again, this is all coming from the RAF site. So for Sterling, tap on the Sterling icon and you'll get the SKUT for that. You can pinch, zoom, and drag if you want to take a closer look at things. It's a square window, so as you expand, things can get cut off, but you can pinch and zoom and drag it. And again, you can loop through the SKU either manually or just tell it to loop. And you can see how the SKU will change as the day progresses. And then just to close, just hit the X there. Okay. Going to forecasts. Although you can get the drop down here, and this list is pretty much taken in order as it appears in the drop down on the RAF site. You can go up and change the order. So for myself, I like to see the this one down toward the bottom of the screen, critical height of critical updraft strength, 175 feet per minute. So you can reorder just by doing a long press and dragging it up toward the top of the screen, or whatever order you like. Then I like checking the thermal updraft velocity, and I'm going to go down here a bit to the cumulus potential, drag that up. It's a little slow in dragging or scrolling as it goes up. Eventually gets there. In a minute, and I'm going to put that there. And I generally move up the OD potential also. So when you go back to the screen, I'm sorry. The nice thing about reordering these, you can quickly scroll through your favorites by just scrolling left and right. Now that you've moved all your favorite forecasts to the top, you'll see they're coming out in order there. So you don't have to do the drop down, find the one you want. You still have the opportunity of using the drop down for something that you might not have as your top favorites. So let's see. So we talked about time, forecast map, SKUTs, adding term points. Okay. There's no term points loaded when you first do the install. So go up to the upper right, or excuse me, upper left, and you got the drawer that comes out. Come down to turn points. And it said, well, I haven't loaded any. Would you like to add some? Or, okay. These, the list here is a curated list that comes from the Term Point Exchange. The phone doesn't have the horsepower to go out and sort of scrape the Term Point Exchange for all the files. So I just put these couple in here for New England. There's a couple in there for Mifflin. If these change at any point, like Taylor goes out and updates the Sterling file, it generally gets a new name on the Term Point Exchange. And if you come in here and click it, it's not going to find it because the file name's changed. But I can upload an updated file, a JSON file that provides a new name, and then this will start working for what that's worth. So anyway, we're going to load Sterling. Goes out, tells you how many were loaded. Go back a screen, and you get them. You can then, search on them if you like for, Sterling, and, they'll pop up, which we'll get to in a minute for creating a task. But going back to the home screen, and now what I'm going to do, there's some display options. You can customize what you display on the screen. So upper right menu, display options. I'm going to turn off the soundings and turn on the turn points. And I'm going to leave the SUA still displayed. Click OK. And up they pop. I'm going to zoom in down towards Sterling. And the color of the term points tell you something about the type of airfield. And there's an option you can display non-landable turn points, but right now all of these should be landable. If it's green, if the turn point in the CUP file, which is what gets downloaded, says it has a grass runway, the icon is green. So in the CUP file, Sterling says it has a grass runway, even though it has the asphalt. CUP file says just grass, so it shows up as a green icon. Any airport that is asphalt shows up as black, and anything other than asphalt or grass, like it's landable, it'll show up as red here. Okay, let's see what else. And turn point, talked about the various icons, and if you tap on one, like Sterling, you'll get a Google overhead view. So actually, if you're like flying up to Newfound Valley or something, you're able to take a look at the overhead view and get at least an idea of what it should look like, especially if it's grass or it's not a well-defined airport or easily located airport. The information that comes up above comes out of the CUP file. So, term point name Sterling, it's 3B3, it's designated as a gliding airfield, lat long, elevation, so on and so forth. That all comes from the CUP file. If you want additional information, actually, I'm going to go back just for kicks and go up to Jaffrey. If you want information on the airport, click on the Air Nav, and it'll pull up some, additional information from the airnav.com website. So you can, just get some more information maybe on the turn point airport that you're going to. I'm just going to go back to the app. Close and come back to this. Okay, we did talk. Oh, okay. Now on to what I'm calling a local forecast. Rather than doing just a quick tap on the icon, I'm going to do a long press on Sterling. And again, this information is coming from the RAS site. And the RAS site keeps I guess really a number of files with the different types of forecasts and numerical values. And I worked with Steve Pavola. It's kind enough to do some modifications for this to work. And I show local forecast. Just real quick, I don't know if you can read the screen, what the titles or the legends are for what's displayed here, but the sort of oblong football type things, there's thermal updraft strength, altitude where the thermal goes gets down to 175 feet per minute, assuming dry conditions that you don't have a cloud form. And the top of the bubble is the approximate altitude at which the thermal strength drops to 175 feet per minute, which on some gliders is pretty much as high as you're going. The little white cloud things are icons are cumulus Cloudbase. And if you have the black cloud showing up, that's where the OD forecasted OD is supposed to appear, you know, if it's present, like at, and actually, let me go down to the second, the line graph at the bottom, where it shows the updraft strength, and this is through the day. So it's starting at, taking a look at the bottom legend, starting at 10 o'clock, going up to 1800, 6 p.m. To get an idea of confidence on whether the cumulus and OD is actually going to be there based on, in this case, the GFS forecast, come up here and click on graph data. And you'll see the numerical values that were used to create those graphs. So height of the critical updraft strength is shown here, and you can scroll this table over, also up, as the case may be. And then cumulus potential. Looking at the cumulus potential, this second line, and the OD potential on the fourth line, those numbers give you a bit of an idea of, according to the model, in this case, the GFS model, how confident you can be that you're actually going to see either cumulus or OD. If these numbers are down, let me back up a minute. The cloud icons will appear, whether the cumulus or the OD icons, they'll appear whenever the potential is greater than 0. So if this CU potential at 12 noon instead of 741, if it was just numerical value of 1, that cumulus icon would show, but it's maybe a 50-50 chance that you'll actually have cumulus according to the model on that time period. The higher the numbers, the more confident you are, well, at least again, according to the model, that you are going to see the cumulus or OD. And even numbers at 741 for cumulus, OD of 556. I've seen numbers that are up into the thousands, which sounds like a pretty definite thing. So maybe when you're in the hundreds again, yeah, it's maybe a little bit iffy. When you get at numbers into the thousands, yeah, sounds like a more definite thing. I've also added stuff that is not on the graph because I haven't figured out how to generate icons to show this information, but you'll get things like the wind speed, basically ground level, the direction, they're 10 meters above the air, above the ground, and wind at the average wind and boundary layer wind, if you're interested in that. And again, you can tap on the text and you'll get an explanation of that parameter. Again, this is what's out on the RAF site. Actually, I think I copied the explanations, all of these down into the app. Okay. To go back, you actually need to dismiss this, which is drag it down. And again, you can change the model. And, okay, definite difference in forecast height of the thermals and such. So as I say, you can do a little bit of model shopping to find which model you like the best.
Eric, I have a quick question. I
Sure.
hope. How did you get into this local forecast again from, suppose
Oh,
you're in the graph screen? I missed that part.
Yeah, okay. Just do a long press.
Well, long press. Okay.
Long press. Yeah, the short tap will take you to the Google overhead view. The long press
Okay.
shows you the local forecast. And think about a local forecast. Actually, let me go back. I was showing Jaffrey here. I'm going to do Sterling again. Do a long press on Sterling. And now in the upper right, you can set this as a favorite. And it doesn't look like it did anything, but when you come back to the main forecast, the home page, you'll now see that the Sterling forecast appears in the menu, and I guess in the drop nav drawer. I didn't point this out before, but so if you come in here and you just want to see what the local forecast is, sort of a summary of everything, where you don't have to go through individual blip maps on this screen. Once you set your local forecast, clicking on the Sterling forecast, you'll go right there. Saves a little bit of time to see what the day is like, and you can decide whether you want to go out soaring that day, if you just want to doodle around the field. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling through my notes. Okay, adding a task. Now that we imported turn points, we're going to add a task. I'm going to select one. Haven't added anything yet, but we'll get there. So no tasks found, but I'm going to click on the add upper right. Task detail. Now we start adding turn points, and here's where we get into searching. I'm actually going to tap on Sterling twice. And you see when you tap on it, you get the little text above the keyboard showing up here saying it was added to the task. I'm actually going to add this twice, back up, and I'm going to do the usual 300 K turn points. Clicking on Southbridge. And once I'm done there, I go back here, and now I'm going to again do like a long press, and I can drag Sterling down to the bottom. Now that's my finish. Just saves a little bit of typing, and it's easy enough to drag and drop these. If you got them out of order, you can switch them easily enough. If you typed one in by mistake, you can always do, a right swipe, and it will delete. You can always also undelete it, but I'm going to leave it here for a minute. And it shows you from your start point, like going to Claremont, you're going to have 115 kilometers to go, and it's 115 kilometers or 114.9 kilometers from the start. From Claremont to Southbridge, it's 143 kilometers. And when you hit Southbridge, you've done a total of 258.7 kilometers. So it gives you an idea of how far you're going. And at the top, showing up here, the distance, you're just squeaking in your 300K there. If you don't give it a task name, whenever you save this, and I'm going to click on the save in the upper right, it creates a title or a task name based on the turn points. Again, saves a little bit typing. I'm going to go back, and then you can add a bunch of tasks here if you like. I'm just going to add this one. And now we started this from the home screen by going to select a task. So to select the one you want, you just tap on it, which I'm going to do here. And now it'll draw it out for you. And again, it shows you little markers. And, it doesn't show the start Sterling one because Sterling being the endpoint's actually overlaying the start marker, but gives you, again, a bit of an idea of how far you have to go for each leg. You can, again, do a long press on these to show the forecast. So if you want to see what it's going to be looking like, if you headed up to Claremont, I'm doing a long press on Claremont. Well, yeah, if I get there, for me, LS4, maybe I'd want to get there sometime around 2 p.m. where maybe the Cloudbase and thermals are high enough, I might be able to squeak my way back. So, and then don't overstay your welcome because it's going to die there by 1600. And I'm just going to go back. I'm behind in my notes. I'm going to scroll down here. Okay. So say you want to fly this task and you want to do your due diligence by getting a briefing. So what you can do now that a task has been selected, come up here to the right-hand menu, and I'm going to do a 1-800-WX brief. And I created what's called a NOTAMs brief because I figured by this point you've already looked at the forecast, you think it's a doable task, the winds look okay. And the purpose of the NOTAMs task is just to find out if there's really any TFRs or closed airports, whether your turn points or within your route. So I'm going to pick NOTAMs. And there's a little bit of a setup that has to go with this that you need to do prior to using this option. I'll show you that as we go. I pick NOTAMs. First thing that pops up is this little authorization screen. Basically, it's instructions on how to set up your 1-800-WX brief account so that the SoaringForecast app can request a brief what was I saying? 1-800 or that SoaringForecast can request a briefing, and it you will authorize 1-800-WX brief to provide that. Sorry, I'm getting a little wordy there. Actually, what I want to do is call up 1-800. So if you go to, I'm going to overlay this here, go into 1-800-WX brief. And I already have an account. If you don't have one, it's easy enough to create an account. You know, they're free. Log in. And if you go up to this account bar, you get this service provider authorization. Click on that. And if you scroll down, you're going to see SoaringForecast in the list. Here they use a space between Soaring and Forecast, but I didn't tell them to correct it. So all you have to do is click yes, and then come up here. It's, you know, I'll do edit. Sorry, got to click edit. So you just authorize it. Say yes. I'm just going to cancel out of here. I don't think it matters, but you would normally save it. Still is yes. You've now authorized the app to get a briefing. And so once you do that, after you set it up, you can tell it not to show this screen. I'm just going to leave it there for the moment. Continue on. And now it's filled in. It has the term points, short name or the title of your task. It shows the airports you're starting from and ending up on. I'm going to put in my glider. And you have to use the email account or email that you used when you registered for a 1-800-WX brief account. And done there. There's two different ways of getting a briefing. I really recommend the online PDFs because it provides the most, I think, flexible briefing with the most graphics, the most whiz bang for the buck. You can get it emailed to you, but as I recall, various links that would take you to get additional information aren't present. So I would strongly suggest leave it as online PDF briefing. Submit. Give it a load time. And let me expand this a bit. Again, pinch and zoom. Comes in a PDF. Gives you a little bit the summary. And if you've ever gone onto the website to get a briefing, you know there's a lot of options. Your speed, your departure time, your flight altitude, so on and so forth. To simplify it in the app, I put in what I considered somewhat reasonable options or values for all those options. And I just said, I'm doing a cruising speed of 50 knots at 6,000 feet. Some of you guys go faster than 50. I'm a little slower, if I can even hit 50 knots average. And it assumes that the departure is going to be just a couple hours in the future. I'm making an assumption you're doing this at home. The thing about NOTAMs are, though, that they provide NOTAMs for a couple hours prior to your estimated departure time and up to 72 hours after your departure time. So it really covers, for the NOTAMs, it really covers the range of whenever you're going to be flying that day. This is an abbreviated briefing, including various graphics, so on and so forth. So basically, this will give you everything that the online version will do. I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit. Telling you there's no TFRs along the route, no closed or unsafe airport or runways along the route. And if you tap on any of these lines in the table of contents, you'll go right to the particular part of the brief, same as if you did it online through a laptop browser. And if you want to search for something, you can type in search, see if anything pops up. And okay, it's highlighted over here. Okay, found closed, none along the route. Just you can tap on the up sort of chevron, down chevron to tab through just to make sure. No, what's this? Airport, Spencer. Airport closed. I don't know why it does. Oh, maybe it's not the closed ones that or term point. You designated as airports you're visiting along the route, but some airports could be closed that you're not planning on landing at unless it's an emergency, maybe, or you get shot down. So, okay, Spencer is closed, nominally closed. What else? Who else? Parkland. Oh, South End turnaround closed. So there's maybe not the runways, but information on other areas of the airport that might be closed. Anyway, so you can do searches if you want to see anything in particular. Again, this one was just doing NOTAMs. Let me go back to the beginning. And if you want, say a regular briefing, again, this form shows up because I didn't check that box. You have the option of doing the normal standard abbreviation. I threw NOTAMs in the list or an Outlook. So you can pick how detailed you want it. You'll get things if you do the more involved detailed briefing, the winds aloft at Boston or Albany, what have you. Whatever you get in a regular briefing. I'm just going to go back. Oh, also, under this report options select, you hit the down arrow. You can pretty much pick and choose depending on the type of brief. Like when you pick a standard brief, you only get a couple different options. And I tried to hew pretty close to the options that were selectable on the regular browser, the more detailed screen. Try not to make all the assumptions for this. Let me change to abbreviated. You pick abbreviated, besides the regular report options of including any of the graphics, doing plain text, what have you. You can pick, winds aloft, again, other options. And doing product options, you can see anything that's checked here is default that shows up when you're in the browser, normal browser, 1-800 website. But you can pick things like, we have a volcano pop up. You can always pick that, add METARs, what have you. So you can customize it. The thing about this, unfortunately, right now, don't save your selections. So if you come back to do it this way again, you're going to have to reselect these. Okay. So that's, let's see. Besides a task brief, you can also, you don't have to have a task displayed. Come back over to the nav drawer and you will see that there is an area brief where, I'm going to get rid of this, but you can pick whatever airport you want. The app will hold on to aircraft registration in your account. And the type of brief you want, standard abbreviated, no TAMS version, Outlook, what have you, various options. So that if you're just going to check out the local area for flying around Sterling, you can get local area brief. Again, very similar to what is what you can get on the online system or direct. So again, there's a couple assumptions made, 25 nautical mile briefing area, winds aloft information, 100 nautical mile area around. It shows you all the various things included or excluded, what have you. Let's see, what else? We talked about reorder forecasts, the region. If you want to see what Mifflin's looking like, you can come down here to select region, click on Mifflin, go back, and you'll see what the day is like in Mifflin. Oh, maybe I should be flying down there. I'm going to go back to set it back to Mifflin. We did show you the how to get the favorite when you're in the local forecast screen. Set it as favorite. Oh, windy. Let's go back. And when I switched regions, it cleared the task because we wouldn't be flying that task in a different region. So I'm going to put that back to show our task. And then from the nav bar, you can go over to windy. And this was a customized version of Windy. They offer the free version with somewhat reduced options compared to their paid site or the, the full site. But with this version, I can overlay the task. So if you want to see what the winds are like via Windy, you can check it out. So there's a range of different altitudes, a couple different forecasts, wind, temp, clouds, what have you. There's a more limited selection of forecast models. And I think on their full site, they use preferentially the European model. I can't get this through the free version, if you will. But if you click on the windy.com banner at the top, you will go over to their website, and you have all the options that are available there. But I can't overlay the task on their website. I'll go back. Let's see. Oh, also on here, you can click over to SkySite if you have an account, or Dr. Jack's. I'm not sure how many people go to Dr. Jack's anymore. It just pulls up the web page for Dr. Jack's. And there's a setting I'll get to in a minute where you can not display these if you don't use either of these. I'm going to come down here to airport, METAR and TAF. Actually, let me scroll down, make sure I'm sort of on this. So, okay. Clicking on METAR TAFs, don't have any airports yet. On Android, when you first fire up the app, it goes out, it actually looks at a different database than the TurnPoint database to see if you've downloaded any airports. I'm going to see if this has, in the background, downloaded the airport. So let me just see, Sterling. Yes, it did work. On iOS, the background task doesn't kick off as quickly as an Android. So if you come in here and do a search, if nothing comes up, iOS probably hasn't started that task, but if you come in and do a refresh, it will do the download in the foreground. Actually, why don't I do that now? No, I better not chance it. Okay, it should only take a couple, 30 seconds or so. I'll see. Okay, so what it'll do is delete whatever you got and re-download it. So see how long this takes. Hopefully I got a good Wi-Fi connection. Okay, yes, it's downloaded. So you really need to do that for iOS. And I'll go back to my Sterling. And the airports that are downloaded are across the US. It's not limited to the region. Sterling, and let's put in Jaffrey, Kicks, and Hartness. State airport. Okay, go back. And it will call up METAR and TAFs either for the airport if it's available, or the METAR or TAFs will come from the closest airport to the one that you put in. So for Sterling, the METAR, you read this, is actually coming from Fitchburg. And the TAF is actually coming from Worcester. And the METAR and TAF information is coming from 1-800-WX-BRIEF. But you don't actually need an account to get this information. Because the briefings, point about the briefings, whenever you request a briefing and you put in your briefing account name, in my case, ericfurch@gmail.com, 1-800-WX-BRIEF actually records that you requested that briefing, an official thing. When you ask for METAR or TAFs, it doesn't record who's asking for that information. And then, you just scroll down. So Jaffrey, METAR is coming from Jaffrey. The TAF is actually coming from KMHT. To be honest, I don't know which airport that is. Anybody know? But okay, 26 miles away. Manchester. Okay, thank you. And Springfield or Hartness. METAR is from Hartness. TAF is Lebanon, I guess. KLEB. Guess that's Lebanon. And if you like, once you got your list, if for some reason, maybe you start flying, you take your glider up to Springfield and you want them at the top, you can just drag and drop these so you get your favorites one up to the top, go back, and now Springfield's at the top of the list. If you like to, if you move to a bunch of different airports and fly out of different airports. Let's see what else. Some fun stuff. Geos, if you want to get a view of the how things are looking, like weather moving in, what have you. This, when it first comes up, it just gives you the most recent GEOS satellite view. Tapping on the loop takes a little time for the, it's actually a GIF file to get downloaded. And I tried to include a lot of detail. Sometimes it takes a little while. It's going to make a liar out of me now. Let me go back. Never fails when you demonstrate something. If this works. Oh, there we go. I don't know why it was so slow the first time. So you can see how maybe fronts are moving, clouds around, that sort of thing. Gives you a bit of an idea of what's happening. What's cool is if you look at maybe the skew and, hey, man, it's sort of looking like a wave day. Come over here and take a look at the satellite image. Sometimes you'll see all the wave bars, you know, up in going through New Hampshire, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, what have you. Also down in PA, if there's wave working off the plateau and ridges down there. So sort of a fun thing to see, get the big picture of what things might be looking like. Yeah, what else? Task list. We talked about, you know, if you have more than one task, dragging and dropping to move them around. Oh, okay. Turn points. Say you're driving along. Oops, sorry, hit the wrong one. I'm going to turn points down here in the menu. You're driving along somewhere and you pass by a farmer's field and say, wow, I could, or maybe not necessarily a farmer's field, but someplace that I think, wow, I could land there. And you want to create a turn point. Whip out the app. You're now going to add a turn point. And I'm going to come right down to the, I call it the GPS icon or the location icon. I don't know what the official name is for this, but, oh, it'll ask you, or do you want to allow the app to use location services? And I'm going to say, yep, while using the app. Give it a moment. I'm in Acton. So the phone has picked up the area where I'm at. And as it happens, the development I live in has this meadow. There's this one tree right here. You got some nice shadows, but yeah, if you're really in a pinch, it's big enough to land in this meadow behind the development. Pin isn't quite where I want it. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say drag marker. And if I do a long press on it, I'll drag it down to the middle of the field for what it's worth, you know, and make it a little more accurate. I'm going to save that location. And now I'm just going to waypoint name. I'll call it Mill Corner. I'm not going to bother with official abbreviation because that's the name of our development. Mill Corner. Just make up something that hopefully won't conflict with any name, turn point name in the database, and it should, or it will, excuse me, give you an error. Mill Corner, Mill. Can't spell here or type on this small keyboard. Mill Corner. Country US, obviously. Latitude, longitude's filled in from GPS. Elevation is filled in. I'm going to say it's a outlanding. I'm going to go to outlanding here. And because it's an outlanding, it wants runway direction and length. It's relatively north-south. So I'm just going to say for kicks, I'm going to say it's 360 direction. Length, it's somewhere around, I don't know, 600-700 feet. I'm going to say 700 feet. Runway width, it's, I think it's at least 70 feet wide. So that in, description, meadow. And I know on the south side, or the south end, there's a lip. Which, so, and with any luck, I'm gonna then click on save. Okay, updated or added, really. So Mill Corner is now available. If for any reason I want to use it as a turn point, you know, it'll show up. I can add it to a task, what have you. let's see, next thing I have here. So anyway, oh, once you add it, you might want to send it to your friends. I actually hit the wrong one side. I'm going to hit the, again, I should have done this before I closed out. And I'll search corner. And what I'm going to do is export it. It'll write the term point out in CUP format to the app directory, and the directory structure on the latest or the later versions of Android is the same as XE-SOAR. You know, you have to go look at org.SoaringForecast something or other and follow that directory structure in Android file transfer. It's a lot more straightforward in iOS. On the earlier versions of Android, it'll end up in the downloads folder. Newer version, it goes to that wonky Android, new, more secure, supposedly, Android file directory. And then you can pick it up and, I don't know, email it to your friends. Okay. So I think that's about it for that. And scrolling down, settings. This is where if you don't use certain things, you can turn them off. If you don't have a SkySite account, you can turn that off. If you don't use Dr. Jax, turn that off. I'd advise leaving Windy in. There's a little, I mentioned real briefly at the beginning, the icons that show up when you show term points is only showing landable term points. If you want to see them all, you can turn this off. I'd like to have term points, airports at my term points, so leave it on. And there's a little bug here. I don't know whether you noticed when first started up the app, I need to fix this, but it starts at 1300 or 1 p.m. So you get an idea of what the middle of the day is looking like. This bug says it starts at 11, but that's not really true. If you want to change it though, just come in here. Maybe you want to see how the day initially is starting. So you can set it to well, this is showing 1100, but you can set it whatever time you like. And then next time you come into the app, assuming you close it, come back in, it will start at whichever time you pick here. Let's see. Oh, going back to the navbar feedback. Shoot me an email with any sort of, if you find a bug, hopefully not, but if you find one, let me know. If you think of an enhancement, let me know that too. Love to hear feedback. And come back here. And there's about a little disclaimer here. Actually at the top for the version build, if you do have a problem, if you could include that information. Normally Android and iOS automatically update your app to the latest version, but if you have that turned off for some reason, shoot me that information, or you have to update, manually, but shoot me whatever build you're using. And I forgot about this text in the second and third paragraph here. This text is left over from when I first started rewriting this for iOS, and it didn't have all the capabilities of the old pure Android version. But right now, both iOS and Android have equivalent capabilities. And the last thing is the last paragraph. No warranties expressed or implied. Use at your own risk, so on and so forth. So I think that might be about it. Oh, yeah. Okay. So actually, I talked a heck of a lot more than I thought I would. Anybody have any questions?
I have kind of some specific question, but I don't know. I don't want to bother everybody else because it might just be my own app.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to have fonts in bold, which means that they don't fit. And I don't remember if that was a setting that was within your app, or maybe it's probably just an iPhone setting.
Yeah, that's good information to know. I do not have an iPhone. I can only run emulators, and the emulators might not always show me where I have, that type of spacing problem. So if you shoot me an email with what phone you're using, I'll take a look at it. When I did testing, I just picked a couple of different versions, like one phone and tablet to see what it looked like. Yeah, if you could tell me what phone you have and what version of iOS you're running, I'll take a look at it and see if I can do something about that.
Okay, I'll take a screenshot too to show
Oh,
you what it
that-
looks like, but I'll first investigate to make sure that it's not some setting that I didn't do to make things bold.
I sort of think it's probably app related.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks. This also, and also thanks. This has a lot more on it than I thought. This is great.
Well, it's sort of a fun thing, and hopefully you can select the days you want to spend your your soaring budget, that sort of thing. Any other questions? Okay. Well, okay. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully you got something out of it, and it'll help you pick your days to do your cross-country flights. And I guess I'll see you guys at the field.
Yeah. this is
Impressive
really
work.
great.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm going to end the video, I think, if I can remember how to do that. Stop video? No, blur.
You can stop screen sharing.
Or you want to stop the recording part?
Yeah.
You just click on recording and
Where is the recording button?
it's up on the left
Oh,
top.
pause recording, stop recording.